Get ready to immerse yourself in a world of vision, inspiration, belonging, and empowerment. Brought to you by Naturals to Go, the VIBEcast is your gateway to realizing your entrepreneurial dreams. In each episode, we're here to ignite your entrepreneurial spirit, offering you the tools and insights you need to turn your dreams into reality. We're all about fostering a powerful vision, sparking inspiration, nurturing a sense of belonging, and providing the empowerment you need to thrive. So sit back, relax, and get ready to dive into the vibe. It's time to take your entrepreneurial journey to the next level. Thank you for joining us, and let's start living the vibe.
Hey folks, welcome to VIBEcast. This is Linda Ballesteros, and I am your host today, and we're going to have a really fun time today. We're going to be talking about building business relationships. I recently read an article from Forbes, and the title of the article was, Why Building Relationships is Essential to Business Success. The one line in here that just stuck with me, it says, relationships must be prioritized over results. I love that. So today my guest is Dave Robertson. Dave became a Naturals to Go operator in 2020. Do you remember when that was? That was like in the middle of COVID. And before that, he was a pastor for 34 years and helped to grow the largest United Methodist Church in the country. He has grown his business from 8 machines to 36 machines, and he's going to talk about how he did that today. Dave's currently also a lead Naturals to Go trainer in Savannah, and he does that 9 times a year. So Dave, thanks so much for being with us today.
Hey, it's my pleasure to be here with you, Linda.
Absolutely. You know, Dave, I know that you have got to have a secret to building these relationships. So when you first got started and Naturals to Go, I know it was in the middle of COVID, I can't imagine launching any business in the middle of COVID, Dave. So tell us a little bit about what that launch looked like.
I bought my machines in January and was supposed to go to training in March. And 2 days before going to training in Buffalo, Kevin Wright called me and said, hey, they've shut the city of Buffalo down. We're going to have to do this all online. I was in the first online class. And Kevin did a great job with the class. I really learned a lot. My locator, Coburn, came in June of 2020. Everything shut down, except essential services places. And Coburn is such a guy that is such a people person. There would be signs on the door saying, don't come in, and he went in. And he built these relationships and got us into some really nice places who needed an upgrade of their vending because their people couldn't go to lunch anymore out. They had to have it there. And so our vending machines, we were able to stock it with essential stuff for lunch. We started selling barbecue sandwiches out of our lunch. Kansas City's known for barbecue. And one of the first places we got into was a Sam's Walmart distribution center. And they kicked out the vending machine that was in there before was just terrible. And we had been in there about a month, and the general manager of the plant came up and said, you're 13 times better than anybody else we've ever had. And I don't know where he came up with this, but that made my day,
And you would think a large company like Sam's would have the cream of the crop in there. So sometimes people think, oh, well, they I'm sure they already have a vendor in there and they discount it, but that's mistaken, isn't it?
Absolutely. Vending for some companies is not a priority, and it became a priority for them during COVID because the necessity of having stuff for your workers increased dramatically.
Mm-hmm. So during this time, Dave, at what point, or you may have always felt that business relationships were important, How have you seen that business relationships and building those relationships with your locations and with the companies that you provide for? How have you seen that become stronger and evolve over the time?
Well, a lot of this came out of ministry background, so part of my role at a church was visitor follow-up. And so if somebody came as a first-time visitor, we did something for them. And then as a third-time visitor, I'd handwrite them a little note. And by the fifth time, if they had come 5 times, it's like, there are people, But by the third time, I'm looking them up on Facebook. I want to get a name and a face, and I want to call them by name as they come through the door. If you call somebody by name, that tells them that they're important to you. And so at every place where we're doing vending, I want to get to know as many names as possible, and I want to call people by name. And I want them to call me by name, and oftentimes they're going to call me Super Dave. But, just the power of knowing somebody's name is important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about not just the decision maker.
Oh, no, everybody. No, if you know the janitor's name, the reality is the janitor is probably going to buy more stuff out of that machine than the decision maker is. So I want to know everybody's name, literally as many people as I, and if I don't remember, if they told me before, then I'm not afraid to ask, tell me again, what is your name? And just because, again, even in asking, what that tells people is they're important to you.
Yeah. That's, it seems like something very small, but it's really a huge step in building the relationship with that location, isn't it, Dave?
No doubt. And what I ultimately want to see happen is, all the coworkers in there know each other's names, right? And I want them to see me as a coworker in there. I want them to see me as a part of their extended staff, that I'm there to serve them. A lot of times when you go into a place, people are expecting you're going to try to sell them stuff and make money. And what I want to see happen is I want these companies to see me as part of their extended staff, that I'm there to serve them, to serve their needs, to find out their likes, what they need out of a machine. I want to provide them what they need to make it through their day.
So that means they don't see you as the vending guy, really.
No.
It's so much more than that. You're part of their, you could almost say you're part of their family, so to speak.
Absolutely. At one of my places, it's a Hallmark, they had a staff lunch a couple of months ago, and I got invited to the staff lunch.
Wow.
Just to sit and have a meal with them. And I started with the higher-ups who invited me. I sat with them about 15 minutes, and then I went to the hourly shift laborers and sat with them. I want to spread myself throughout that whole community of Hallmark, where everybody knows they're important.
Dave, when I hear you describe that, it makes me think that if for some reason, maybe there was a management change, you will probably be one of the last people that they would kick out of there, right?
No doubt.
So you're not having to fight for your position with the company anymore.
No, there's no doubt. I'm one of them, and there's no way they're going to get rid of me, because I'm going to take care of them. One of the guys who at that particular location, his name's Travis, and when I first started going in there, I would say hello, and he'd kind of grumble, and he actually has a picture of Despicable Me, the lead character on Despicable Me movie, and he kind of looks like that. And one day he came up to me. I'd been in there several months, and he said, "We're going to have a staff lunch. We're going to provide sandwiches. Would you provide chips and drink?" And I said, "Travis, I would love to do that for your staff. Thank you so much for asking for me to do that." And how many do you have? I'll have it here a couple of days before. And he looked at me like I had two heads. Yeah. He couldn't believe, he felt bad asking me to do that. And you turn that around into a blessing where you're blessing me by asking for me to be able to do that for you. And I do that for them, a couple times a year. And, my machines have paid for themselves twice in there. But the reality is the relationships built just by giving a can of soda and a bag of chips twice a year. People love that you're willing to give back and to support them. And it's not just about me going in there and making money.
Absolutely. Now, with this mindset that you have of building those relationships, do you think that that is part of what has allowed you to build your business from 8 machines to how many machines? 36 now?
Absolutely it is. I've gotten referrals from places where I'm in that got me into other places. So at Geiger Ready Mix Concrete, one of the guys who works there played softball with a guy who was the general manager of a company called Steel Manufacturing. They have 2 locations. And the guy said, "Do you know any good vendors?" This is during a softball game. And he passed my information along. I got an email actually while I was at training in Buffalo when I was there from this guy I'd never heard of. But having that relationship with Geiger got me in somewhere else, and the word does spread. If you do a good job, people are going to readily share. I went by with a little thank you note from that guy from Geiger and with a little cash in it to say, "Hey, thanks for the referral." That meant a lot.
Of course. And I know that you've recently been able to secure some locations at some city locations. How did that happen, Dave?
I'm actually in the process of bringing on a partner in the business who's bringing a lot of equity, and he's bringing time, but he's also bringing a lot of connections. So those barbecue sandwiches I talked about earlier, this guy owned the barbecue restaurant.
Wow.
And all these city employees would come in and eat at his restaurant, and he would cater. So he would bring food to them. And so they all knew who Eric was. And as soon as they found out he's joining me in this vending process, that's opening doors. It's built on.
And again, it's that relationship,
No doubt.
When you started in offering his sandwiches in your machine, you probably weren't even thinking about him being a partner someday, were you?
No, not in the least. I never even considered bringing on a partner. Yeah. But looking at this, who Eric is, and hopefully if you're going to be at training in a couple of weeks, he's going to be there with me. Okay. But he brings that same type of mentality of customer service, of relationship building, and he's great at it. That's one of the reasons I'm bringing him on.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful, Dave. And, like I said before, these relationships become friendships. They become almost family. And have you seen that happen over the years?
Oh, no doubt. Absolutely. We're actually going to hire our first full-time employee this fall, and it's somebody from one of these places, and they're actually going out of business. Their last day is September 27th, and he's going to join us the 1st of October, and he's going to be our first full-time employee.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, almost my personal cell phone number is on every machine. And so everybody at each one of these locations has my cell phone number, and there are a bunch of people I talk to outside of work about different things. And one of the gals in this location that's shutting down, I was one of the first persons she contacted about her new gig of what she's going to be doing.
Aww.
She just wanted to celebrate that with me, and that's awesome.
That means so much, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, it means so much. And do you see that, they celebrate your wins, and they also are concerned about you and where you are in your life when you have life events?
Oh, so this location is Hallmark. So, they have a card, right? And so my wife has gone in there with me a few times, and she sang for them one time. My wife is an opera singer by trade. And so she sang for them one time, and they were blown away. And the next year rolled around, and one of the gals handed me a card and said, "This is for your wife." And from the year before, they remembered her birthday. And 40, 50 people signed this birthday card for my wife. Out of the blue. I didn't remind people that it was her birthday. They just remember because we're part of their family there at this place. And it's an honor to be able to serve people who you love and who you cherish, and they cherish you. And that turns this from not simply being a job, but from being a blessing and blessing others. And whose day am I going to make today? That was a question one of my friends put to me, who's in the restaurant business, and he every day tries to think about, who am I going to bless today? And it's like, that's awesome.
That is awesome, because now you go out from the very beginning of your day and you're looking for those people that you can bless. And
no doubt.
And that comes back to you, doesn't it, Dave?
It does. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Constantly it comes back. I think I was telling you before, but my father passed away in June, and he was almost 94. He was ready. And he lived in the Dallas area, where I grew up, and I live in Kansas City, and I serve the Kansas City community. And the night before the funeral, my brother says, "Hey, we got this flower arrangement. I don't know who it's from." And I said, "What'd the card say?" He said, "Geiger Ready Mix." And I said, "That's one of the companies I serve in Kansas City, who saw on Facebook that my father passed away, and they sent a flower arrangement that turned out to be the centerpiece right in front of the altar on the day of his funeral." Wow. But this is what they would do for their employees. But that's how they look at me, as I'm one of them. They give me shirts and hats and all sorts of things. They have a book that one of the Geigers wrote on their history and their values. I borrowed the book. I read it. I can tell them all about their value and their history. I want to be embedded in there as one of them, not just to make sales, but I cherish them as a company. They've been around Kansas City since 1860.
Wow. And
they're a cherished Kansas City institution as far as I'm concerned. And so any kind of alliance I can make with them, where I can promote them, and I promote them on Facebook, on my own personal Facebook page, telling people how great a company this is. And I want to be associated with them.
Yeah, of course. Dave, if there's, we're coming down close to the end of the show here, but if there's somebody listening, and maybe it's a relatively new operator, how would you suggest, what advice would you give them to build their business just as you have on relationships?
Don't mean to repeat myself, but first thing is get to know people's names. Make it very clear that you're there to serve them. That I look at what I do as concierge vending.
Oh, I love that.
I want to put in there what they want. If I have something that I'm putting in, they don't want it, it's not doing them any good, it's not doing me any good. So I tell people all the time, I'm not married to anything that's in here. Only thing I'm married to is my wife. Everything else, if I can find it wholesale, I'll put it in here. So I'm letting people know that I really want them to have their needs met. But take time when you go in. Don't just go in there and fill the machine and get out. So one place I know from 9:30 to 10:30, there's nobody in the break room. So I show up about 9:20. so I can visit with people for about 10 minutes before I have that hour where I'm filling in those 3 vending machines. And then I'll stick around a little bit after I fill to meet the next group that's coming in. Just to see how their day's going, what they're doing this weekend, how the Chiefs are playing, and you end up having so many conversations with people. People will come up. People want to be able to share their story. And so when you ask people how they're doing, if you actually genuinely care and listen, people will tell you. And I can't tell you how many times people have shared with me. There's one great story of a guy at a location. And I like to have fun with people when I go in. And he said, "What do you got free today?" I said, "What do you want?" He said, "Chocolate." And this was right after Halloween. And I said, "Tell you what, I'm not going to give you any chocolate today, but I'll be back tomorrow, and I'm going to bring you some of my Halloween candy." So the next day I showed up, and he said, "What do you got for me today?" I said, "Just because I like to play with them." "What do you want?" He said, "Chocolate." And I reached in and pulled out a little bag, a few pieces of chocolate Halloween candy, gave it to him. And he got right up in my ear, really close, a little uncomfortable. And he said, "Yesterday I was in court ending a marriage of 25 years. I really needed this today." And every day when I came, because I was at that location, it was just a September to December location, I gave him a little piece of chocolate candy every day, just to let him know I'm thinking about him. Let him know that when you do that, people know that you're remembering them, that you're thinking about them. That's important. And any ways that you can genuinely make somebody feel like they're important to you. I don't even know if he ever bought anything out of my machine, to be perfectly honest. I don't care. This guy needed somebody there for him in that moment. And if you can just be there for somebody and listen, take 5 minutes just to listen, that means a lot to people.
What an amazing story there. It just, David, just proves that people just want to be seen. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what your product is. It doesn't matter what your service is. If you just let people know that you see them and you acknowledge them, then you've delivered more than your service, more than your product. And it builds that relationship.
No doubt. No doubt. People need to know that you care. I had a guy call me one time and something happened with the machine and it took his money. It doesn't happen very often. But he was staying in a hotel and he called me and I said, "Hey, do you have Venmo or Cash App? I can hit you back right now with some money." He said, "No, I don't have any of those." I said, "Hey, let me know what room you're in. I'll just slip money under your door." Mm-hmm. And his response is, "I just wanted to know if somebody cared." And I was like, "Absolutely, I care." He said, I'm working at nights and I'm asleep during the day, so I'll be asleep right here." I said, "Just tell me your room number. I'll just slip some money under the door and give it to you." He said, "You don't even have to do that. I just want to know that somebody out there cared."
Wow.
It's like,
it wasn't even about the $3 that he may have lost in the machine. It wasn't that. He just wanted to be heard. He was probably away from home,
yep.
Traveling, working, and he just wanted to know that somebody was out there and cared.
Yep. And I did slip money under his door, and I actually slipped a little bit more than what he lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome, Dave. Well, Dave, we're down at the end of the show here. I so appreciate your words of wisdom here. And I know that some of these operators are definitely taking notes. And if you've listened to this once, listen to it again, because you probably missed a few nuggets from Super Dave, and you're going to want to write those down. So, Dave, again, thank you so much for the work that you do out there. Thank you so much for training our operators, our new operators, where they are set up for success when they go out and build their vending machine business. Appreciate you so much.
It's an honor to serve in that way, Linda, and to spend some time with you today.
Same here, Dave. Same here. So, folks, as always, I'm going to leave you with a quote. And the quote goes like this: "Once you understand that a business is built on relationships, you will make building relationships your business. So thanks again for joining us today on VIBEcast. And until next time, go out and live the vibe.
That's a wrap for this episode of the VIBEcast. We hope you've been inspired and empowered on your entrepreneurial journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on all your favorite platforms to stay connected with the Vibe community. Until next time, keep nurturing that strong vision, fueling your inspiration, and embracing a sense of belonging and empowerment. Your dreams are within reach, so keep living the vibe.